Captain's Log Supplemental. Much like Ellen DeGeneres, I have made it clear to my crew they are not to look at me, speak to me, or be in the same room as I, or they will spend the remainder of our trip in the brig with a Nutriloaf for company and sustenance. Welcome everyone to the exhibition of stupid people. Today we have 9 subjects I'd like to go through. Before we start, I'm streaming on Twitch tonight. If you're interested in watching me fumble around as an assassin, link below. To start, we're going to talk about coronavirus. Many countries in Europe, if not all, were affected or impacted in some way. To get around this, many introduced rules. These rules would determine how shops opened and how they could interact with their clientele or customers. Take, for example, bondage shops in Berlin. Don't need to embellish too much on what is sold within a bondage store, but we can touch upon the fact that, like every other shop, one has to go into the shop wearing a mask. Now go with that in any way you like. One does have to wonder if it has to be an N95 or a K whatever, or whether or not a GIMP mask will suffice, a gas mask perhaps. Somewhat interestingly, owners of these parlours had to campaign for an injunction to reverse the ban on extracurricular work. The court ruled a few weeks ago that the specific businesses, so bondage stores is one of them, could welcome back customers if they followed government advice, because there is especially no close contact between workers and clients, and that the service is strictly limited to contact by hand, which ensures greater distancing as a rule. Sadly, brothels will not be able to open. Sorry. But the reason why isn't because of the contact. It's because of the dramatically elevated breathing rate. Special. My avatar artist, Kristina Prime, is an active user of the site DeviantArt. DeviantArt, as many would know, is kinda host to a lot of scammers. I myself have received many messages on multiple platforms that were obvious scams, one of which I may well save for another day as a shitpost video on its own. Honestly, it's worth it. Kristina, under the name Skyraw Draws, on DeviantArt that is, decided to put out a blog post. This blog post details her interactions more recently with scammers and how she handles them. Sadly, she wasn't quick enough to get a screenshot of her initial message, but I'm going to read some of what she said because I think it's relevant, and also I like the idea of putting someone on blast for scamming. DeviantArt is unfortunately rife with scam links trying to get your information. In general, if any new user offers you a free link to earn quick cash or free stuff, it's a lie and you should avoid it. My policy is, when one of these scammers sends me anything, I go to their profile and let everyone know that it's a scam by commenting on their page. So not out of the ordinary, I get this note in my inbox, twice actually. So I went to their profile and left a note on the lines of, "Don't click on any link, this is a scam account." To which they got incredibly salty, deleted her comment, sent her messages saying that they were not a scammer, blocking her, and then calling her a scammer. Much upset I'm detecting here. Interestingly, both accounts were deactivated because they're scammers and you lack the conviction. If you're not already, by the way, go follow Skyraw Draws on DeviantArt and on YouTube under the name Kristina Prime. I will link her channel and her DeviantArt down below. In many establishments and homes, people are using hand sanitizer as a means to ensure maximum sanitization, either around the home or in a shop, a pub, a restaurant. The list can in fact go on. The majority of the shops I have to go to require you to use a hand sanitizer before you enter. They have a little table with a bottle. Well, some people have decided that cleaning the outside isn't enough, and courtesy of the CDC, 15 adults have been poisoned because they decided to drink methanol. The Food and Drug Administration has warned of hand sanitizers with possible methanol contamination in June, citing 9 separate products that came from Mexico. Since then, though, the list has grown to more than 100. The CDC has recommended hand sanitizers that you should use should contain either ethanol or isopropanol. Methanol is one of the earliest alcohols you can get. Add an extra carbon atom and you're golden, and 2 hydrogens. You really shouldn't, though, at any point, ingest methanol. There is a particular community in the US that has a drinking problem. I'm going to leave it open to interpretation, and by all means, go read the article linked down below to fully understand and get the gist of the stereotype this plays into. Of the 15 people that have been poisoned, 4 have sadly passed away. The average age of these people is 43. Some had suffered seizures. Some had horrific gastrointestinal issues. One was released from hospital with near total vision loss. And the Darwin Award goes to... Moving on. A group of Lancashire clog dancers, more commonly known as Morris dancers, who wear black makeup as they dance along the streets, bashing coconuts together, have clashed with the National Morris Dancing Organisation over claims of racism. The Joint Morris Organisation, or the JMO, which is the umbrella organisation for the 3 main governing bodies for Morris dancing in the UK, ruled that last month the members should stop blacking up as part of their performances. They have pounced on this because of the rise in the UK of Black Lives Matter. The dancers themselves have pointed out that this is not a racially motivated thing, i.e. the blackface. In fact, the reason they black up their skin is because of the region's ancient coal mining history, and it is therefore an homage. I'll let you all decide yourselves. I'm not going to show pictures because I'd like at least one video to get monetized this week. Somewhat interestingly though, the JMO has said, we now believe we must take further steps to ensure the continued relevance and inclusivity of the tradition, which apparently would include erasing parts of their tradition because of how sensitive some of the younger folks that may well want to try Morris dancing, none of them do by the way, would certainly take it negatively if they saw someone wearing coal on their face. So what you're seeing on the screen now is a short advert. This advert, not one I'm being paid for, is from the Guernsey police. Guernsey is a teeny tiny island, a tax haven full of gits, of roughly 60,000 people, very near the coast of France, but it is a crown dependent of the United Kingdoms. And it will always be that way, sadly, until I take over and nuke Guernsey. There are people there I don't like. I'm sorry, but you're all going to have to go. This ad, as you can see, is the single cringiest recruitment ad I have ever seen for a police force that apparently thinks they are themselves London. Or, and if you're English you'll get this, apparently Taggart operates here as well. In Berlin, by a lake, a nudist bather had his laptop stolen by a swine of a criminal. And I'm not making a joke, it was a boar. So sadly for the nudist, he had very little in the way of options. What could he possibly do? The only sensible thing, I guess, would be to chase the boar to get his laptop back. And thus began a chase I can only assume happened with the music of Benny Hill playing. Photographs were of course taken. I'm not going to show you the photo with the guy in because I don't care. I don't want to see a guy that reminded me of former politician Ken Clark, with a beer gut chasing a boar. The man, for the sake of it, was in fact successful in getting his laptop back. What had happened was the boar had spotted a pizza and grabbed the wrong thing. Grabbed a yellow bag. In the yellow bag was the laptop. Bravo to the man who decided, I'm going to run past everyone else who's fully clothed with my tallywhacker waggling about to get my laptop back from a boar that thought it was a pizza. Duan Knott, the owner of Combat Property Maintenance, was out on a job in the Britton, which is in South Wales, when he received a phone call for another customer, so asked a member of staff called Wayne Collins to go to the residence to start a painting job. The painting job was the outside of a house. Wayne Collins, on 8 separate occasions in the last 3 years, has been sent out to paint a house, only to go and paint the neighbours. Interestingly though, in this particular case, Wayne didn't seem to notice that the windows had been taped up, which, I'll be honest with you, was the big giveaway that that was the house he was meant to paint. But as he's done it 8 times, it's possible back when he had hair, he was incredibly blonde. It's also interesting to note, he has been fired quite a few times by this company, and the only reason Dewan keeps him on, or keeps taking him back, is because he's actually a very good painter. He's just really, really stupid. That's his pet pigeon, by the way. He's called Tarquin. I was going to make the next subject we cover this. However, the user does not exist, but whenever I type this into Google, it comes up as Reddit, subreddits, and the odd meme here or there, linking back in every case to the anxiety and depression support group. But there's no mention of it on their page anyway, so it's possible this is just one very amusing Poe. I hope I left it on the screen long enough for you to read it, because seriously, it is quite funny. The final thing I want to cover is that NASA has decided to go woke, and has understandably been mocked for it, by deciding to remove actively harmful names of galaxies and stars, which would include black holes. So NASA has decided to examine its use of unofficial terminology for cosmic objects as part of its commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So far, they've targeted 2 cosmic objects for immediate changes. Planetary nebula NGC 2392 will no longer be called by its official name, Eskimo Nebula, and that the Siamese Twins galaxy, the also unofficial name, which is NGC 4567 and NGC 4568, will be removed, because Eskimo is deemed to be offensive. I'm not entirely sure why Siamese has been removed, because the way they work is as a pair of spiral galaxies, which therefore makes them look Siamese. Okay? With what we cover here, yes, we're done. I'd love to know what you think. What is the stupidest thing this week? There is quite a lot to go through after all. Please do let me know in the comments down below. If I don't see you on Twitch tonight, have a fantastic Thursday. And thank you all for listening.